Regarding the state deficit, higher education has seen a fair amount of budget cuts, furloughs, and debates over tuition increase. If elected or re-elected, would you support budget cuts that affect higher education and may lead to an increase in tuition?
That's a great question, and the answer is that in my 8 years, I've always supported freezes on tuition. And it's interesting because it's really two schools of thought. And one school of thought says that incrementally you should have increases, and the increases are good and they're healthy. I don't believe they are. In my 15 years here at Towson, as a professor here at Towson, I can tell you the pain that kids have when they come to me and they say, Jim, I'm not coming back next semester. And I say, why not? You have an A average, you're doing great. I can't afford it. I can't afford to come back. I will not support tuition freeze. I will not support tuition increases. I haven't in my time in office. I will continue to support freezes. The budget is about priorities, and we need to shift priorities in this budget. I'll be happy to talk about exactly what I would be willing to cut later on. And we need to make sure that we have continuous tuition freezes so college is affordable. It's not fair that in my generation, I came out of graduate school without any debt, and now kids come out of undergrad and graduate school with debt in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not what we should be passing on to the next generation.
Mr. Carney?
The deficit is a question of spending, not revenues. The deficit has increased in the last 4 years from $27 billion to $32 billion. It's a $5 billion to 20% increase in the middle of a recession. At a time when each of us have been forced to cut back on our own personal spending to match our revenues and expenses, the state has not failed to do so. Towson University is a $300 million business organization. Of that $300 million, 28% of that comes from the state of Maryland. That means that 72% comes from outside. It comes from sources such as out-of-state tuition, which in essence, because they pay such a higher fee than in-state tuition, they subsidize the Maryland state residents. Towson has a program, an incubator for business. That is, in fact, a program that will, in the long term, be and have a chance to produce additional income for Towson. For example, Johns Hopkins, in their program of profit sharing with some of the inventions and patents they create, they make over $100 million doing that. Towson will have a chance to do that if they can compete. I've talked to several members of management here at Towson, and I asked them what was the number one problem that they had. It wasn't the tax money they got from the state. The number one problem was government bureaucracy. Government bureaucracy is shackling Towson's hand from competing. Just like they want to compete, that we want to compete in business, they want to compete to get not only the best students but also the best professors. And they can't compete as long as there is unfettered price controls. To the extent that if you get more competition, you in fact have lower prices long term in the tuition.
Mr. Roach, 1 minute for rebuttal.
I mean, it's hard to rebut that. The question was whether we were going to freeze tuition or raise tuition, and I'm not sure my